Hey everyone, I am responding to Earhart number 8. Finally! Someone asked me, I did a live stream on Thursday afternoon, and someone asked me, have you been playing Minecraft lately? And I was like, no, I haven't. I really haven't. And I realized it's because I haven't had anything that has kept me locked at the computer where sound didn't matter for at least 2 weeks because Earhart hasn't been posted. As soon as I started listening to Earhart, I was like, what should I do while I'm listening? I'll play Minecraft. So last night for an hour and a half I played Minecraft while Ron and Elaine babbled. Thank you very much for keeping me entertained. I have a few things to say. I have already uploaded something about Legend of Korra that will be separate from this so that I can put an advertisement on this video. I don't want to put an ad on my footage of Korra because that's probably not a good thing to do. So that will be a separate video that will be before this. You can check that out. I will talk more about Korra in this thing. But anyway, first you talked about our knocking over our stuff on our desk. And I was like, I try not to do that while I'm recording. And then you talked about video games, because we talked about Nintendo and stuff. And actually, we're going to talk about video games a whole lot more this week for numerous reasons. And you talked about, Ron, you talked about your black hole of gaming, and then how you kind of got out of your black hole at the time that I was probably in my own black hole of gaming. So the games that I talk about are not relevant to you. And this made me think of something that Bernie Burns from Rooster Teeth always talks about. He says, video game nostalgia, and maybe this is true for a lot of nostalgias, but video games especially, video game nostalgia is very specific to the person. And if you grew up during a certain 5 or 10 year span that you played Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 2, but then you grew out of it and now you don't know anything about Call of Duty or Modern Warfare or Halo or any of that stuff, then you're very nostalgic about the generation right before that, which I think is the 5th generation. The Xbox generation with the PlayStation 2, that is the 6th generation, and then the one that we're in right now is the 7th generation. And I think that Bernie is very right. When Ron talks about some of the games that entertained him when he was really in his gaming phase, I'm like, I've never heard of that, never heard of that, never heard of that. Commodore 64, I've never even used one of those. It doesn't mean anything to me, but to Ron, that's all that there was. So to hear him talk about it is interesting, but it has absolutely no basis. There's nothing for me to compare to because I just don't know anything about any of those games. Elaine mentioned that she feels like she's outgrown Nintendo. I feel exactly the same way. The last console that I bought is behind me. Hold on. Here's my DS, gathering dust under the lamp. I said it was cobalt blue, right? We sold our Wii because we just never played it anymore. I think the balance board is still under the couch, under the cat. Maybe it is a fairly typical thing that people are outgrowing Nintendo. And maybe that's why Nintendo has tried to embrace a whole family unit with their console lately, because they want to re-engage some of those people who are like, I remember playing Super Mario Brothers back in 1989. I would love if my kids could play new Super Mario Brothers with me. And I think that has kind of happened, but I don't have kids yet, so I have no reason to jump backwards in that gaming. The games that I play are serious games. I play a lot of item collection, I play a lot of racing and stuff, things that are a little more aimed at my age. Eventually I'll get back to Nintendo, maybe, when I have kids. You talked about classes that you remember because of Carter's story about his science class. I have a lot of memories from English classes because that was my field of focus. I was always interested in that. So I have lots of things about English classes, but I do have one math class. My math teachers in high school were great, but nothing that special until senior year. I had this guy who actually just retired for calculus, and he was a nutball. He was one of the weirdest teachers I've ever had, but in a way that you kind of love. And I took Calculus AB with him, which was a preparation for the Calc Advanced Placement test. And the 6 weeks before the test, he did drills Monday mornings starting at 5 a.m. You had to get to the school at 5 a.m. He would have the door opened. If you weren't there by 5:05, the door would be locked. So if you got there late, you should just go back to bed. Then for 2 hours until 7 o'clock, you could bring breakfast and like sit at your desk and eat, which was very unusual for my school. They had a pretty no tolerance food and drink policy. You could sit there and eat breakfast while he would go down the rows. Call on what he had two sheets, two-sided, that was just full of all of the formulas and all of the things that you would want to remember for the AP test. Things that are just basic, like limits and differentials and stuff. Things that I don't even remember anymore. And he would just go down the aisles and call on you, and you would have to answer these things one by one. And some of it was rote memorization, but then he would throw curveballs all of a sudden. And over all of this, we would play this meta game that he called The Game, which, not that game, damn it, just lost. He played this thing called The Game, which it had all these rules. I think you started with 1,000 points, and every time that you did something that was against the rules, you would lose points. If you saw a yawn in the class, that was like -5 points. If you got an answer wrong, -5 points. If someone else supplied the answer when it was not their turn, -10 points. I don't know. And then like he would make up rules. If he got 5 people in a row that didn't know the right answer, he'd be like, all right, that's -5 for each of you, plus -50 for 5 in a row not knowing the answer. And he would just keep track up on the board, and then at the end of the day, he would file it away, and there were like high scores for different classes, and he kept track of it all. He was a math guy, so he loved doing that. I'm glad you guys talk so much about laundry. We'll handle that on the podcast because I have a little story to tell. Obviously, I want to say something. Elaine said that on the internet and in gaming and these kind of social environments, she has a habit of walking away from people, which I think I do that all the time. When I started the YouTube thing, like 2 years ago, I already had this phone, this incredible that I use, and I have push notifications for everything, for Twitter and email, and I did have Facebook at the time. And every time my phone would be going off, I'd be like, ooh, what's someone saying? This year, ever since like I had a break at the end of last year, I had like a 2-week break at the end of December. When I came back to YouTube after that little vacation, I decided a lot of things. But one of the things that I decided was that I needed to change my mind about all of that push stuff. So now I'm of the mindset that when someone is sending stuff to me, I will retrieve it when I'm ready. So my phone is always silenced. I check it when I check it. My computer does not make any sounds to let me know that I've received anything. No IM messages. All the sounds on chat programs are turned off. Steam, I do not automatically log in when I connect, which is why I receive messages from people that say, why are you never on when I'm on? Because when I'm on, I'm still not on. I like to connect when I want to connect, and that is all. I leave everything off until I want to go see it. So when, like right now, I have a chat message from Elaine that she sent me that I'm eventually going to get to respond. She sent me one an hour ago. That took me 40 minutes to respond to. Then she responded 10 minutes later. That's just what you're used to. You don't, unless you're actually on a Skype conversation or you call someone on the phone, you don't have a back and forth. You have here's a message. Message retrieved. Okay, here's a message. Oh, message retrieved. Send next message. So that's, walking away from people has just become part of the way I deal with this, because I want to appreciate my real life and continue living in my real life and go to the internet and the people on the internet when I want to. You talked about Sandman, which I skipped because I still haven't started the first book, but you mentioned A Doll's House. A Doll's House is the title of an Ibsen play, if maybe that's what you were thinking of, Ron. You had lots of things to say about the Star Wars criticism that Carter and I had. This is what I have to say. When I saw the original trilogy when I was young, I liked them. It is only as my taste in film changed that I realized that I didn't think they were very good movies. The Star Wars universe, I think, is amazing, and the things that people have done with it outside of the original trilogy before the new trilogy came out were great. I think that George Lucas wanted to create something that really stood on the shoulders of all those things that people had created, and I just feel like his filmmaking stood in the way. His storytelling, I won't even get into. General Grievous was a man who wanted... Never mind. I don't want to get into it. So, Korra. I was really with you on... This is where I start talking about Legend of Korra, so if you're not watching, you're not going to understand probably anything I say from here on out. I was really with you on this, the Asami thing. I really thought she was bad. And when it looked like her father was going to be like, join me and we shall rule the galaxy together as father and son, daughter, I really thought she might do it. For a second, I was like, wow, I think this could be the turn of a bad... Oh, never mind. No, never mind. She changed her mind. So no, she didn't want to be a bad guy. She's not interested. I really thought she was. I really thought she was. Aang's death. According to the Avatar wiki, Avatar Aang started sensing his life fading in his 60s. He felt like the time he spent in the ice basically shortened his lifespan. So he began to feel his life force fading, and he sent out the search for the new Avatar, and that's when they found Korra. So as far as I know, he was not... I think if he was murdered or if he had died at the hands of someone, I don't think he would have had time to send out a search for Korra and like announce to the world, I'm dying. I'm pretty sure he just died. He got old and he died. Not that old, but old enough. I have slowed down all the flashbacks. Like I said, they're in the video prior to this, which will be linked somewhere on the screen. When you guys are both looking for the name of Katara, that is a phenomenon called presque-vu. It is very similar to deja vu. It is a thing in the brain where something is happening that isn't supposed to be happening. Presque-vu means it's when the brain is looking for a word and it's supplying you with words that it thinks you might be looking for. For instance, Elaine pulled out hair loopies. Like, she could think of things about Katara, even other names for her, but not Katara. And the perfect example of presque-vu is that Ron couldn't think of it either. That is what happens in groups of people when presque-vu occurs. Your brain continues to block out the word you're looking for because it thinks that it's already given you the right word. It's like hair loopies, that's the right one, right? And then other people's brains are like, yeah, hair loopies, that's the right one. No need to look for anything else. That's exactly what happened to you guys. I will link dump a really good video by Vsauce that is all about deja vu and presque-vu and other things, weird things that your brain does. Final note, I never thought that Torlok was Iman. I still do not think we've seen Iman. I think Iman is related, not related, but possibly. I think he is in some way related to the bad guy that we've seen in the flashbacks, which is Yakon. I think that they are somehow... Either it's like a master and apprentice type relationship, or maybe, actually, I kind of like this idea. Yakon had 2 apprentices, and one of them turned out to be Amon, whoever that is, and the other one turned out to be Torlok. That's what I want to happen. I think that they're similar ages, so it makes sense that they could have come up together, and we know, or we kind of know from the flashbacks that Yakon, or the bad guy in those flashbacks, can bloodbend. We know Torlok can bloodbend, and we know that Iman has incredible power. I don't think he can bend, but I think that is because his bending was removed. Whew. Oh boy. Wow, that went really long, didn't it? All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. At least we don't have to respond to all of that stuff in the podcast. We will talk about laundry, or at least I will. Carter will be like, why are we talking about this? Can't we talk about Nintendo some more? Click.